Okay. This was an oops on my part, guys. I was doing something that YouTube told me to do to go live with this to make it to where I could use, do the scheduling and all that. And when I loaded the stream key into OBS, OBS used both the stream key and the RTMP login and logged in twice. And I ended up with 2 streams going simultaneously. Go figure, guys. You'd think if you use a stream key, it overrides the other one, but it doesn't. So, food for thought, guys. What an oops. All right, let me get this chat popped out where I can watch all you crazies. All righty. Let's see here. Move you over. Yes, good deal. Glad you guys all got back. All right. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Too much fun, guys. The wonders of live streaming. Yes, the wonders of live streaming, There we go. This is too much fun, guys. Yep, hello again, everybody. Johnny, Ken, Maddie. Yeah, you're right there. Yeah. Ooh, look at that. I pointed to the right direction that time. Dang, that was cool. Yes, we got it. Oh, my goodness. Too much fun. Well, we're going to finish the CL1 build tonight, guys. We're going to have a little fun. I had to do a little custom work to get the VTX mounted. So I'll show that first because that's kind of a neat little tidbit. I removed the SMA connector off the back of the VTX because it was going to be too tight, the way these builds are. So I had to solder a piece of coax from the VTX, loop it, and go up to the antenna mount on the tailstock, which is like a ½ inch away. So it just all has to be a solder job. So we'll get to that here right now, since this is actually going to go pretty quick. The only thing I didn't get a chance to do was check to make sure the receiver would bind. Because remember, wonderful FR Sky did their, screw the pooch on all of us for changing to access protocol away from the original protocol. So consequently, a lot of receivers come with the access protocol already on them from the factory. And if you're using the old protocol, you have to re-flash the receiver. I haven't had a chance to check that with this receiver yet. So we'll know here in a little bit when I try to bind it. If it binds, we're good. If it doesn't bind, we'll have to go and do some programming and to get it to bind. And then once we got it to bind, we'll be good. And that I'll have to look up. So we might have to do that on a separate stream because I'll actually have to follow the directions on how to do it. It's not too all that difficult, but I don't do it very often because most of the time the stuff works. So, but yep, that's where it's at. Correct, yes. And because I purposely bought this one because it said that it was ready to go on FR Sky protocol, and it did not mention access. So I'm hoping it is the original protocol. So, and that'll make it really good. What was right? I predict your live stream will be one of the most popular. I tell you what, I hope so. That would just be super nice. So, but we'll see. Oh, hold on. Yep, oops, that came up muted. There you go. Better?
Better?
I think
Testing?
now they can hear you.
Nobody wants to hear me anyways.
Well, I got to make sure I put the headset on before I unmute you. Otherwise, it'll it'll get a loop feed through the mic. So, Johnny, speak English. Oh, yeah, Johnny, there's in FR Sky, okay? These wonderful Tyrannuses, these guys, okay? They have 2 protocols. They have the old protocol, which everybody was using, D8, D16, and all that. Then they decided to screw everybody because they got a wild hair up their butt and didn't want anybody, making stuff for their protocol. So they came out with access and then didn't make anything backward compatible for quite a while. And so consequently, that's access. Well, now it's backward compatible. They finally acquiesced to that because everybody was basically telling them to go take a flying finger and buying other stuff. So that's kind of what happened. And consequently, there are sellers out there that still have the receivers that have the old protocol on it, but most of the new ones, like from Race Day Quads, Get FPV, and a few of the others, they have all new stock, which all have access on them. So to get it to roll to the back to the old firmware, you have to do a little programming, and it's not hard. It's just time consuming, you know, and you got to do it right. Otherwise, you can brick the receiver. You don't want to do that. So it will not bind. Nope, it will not. Okay, not until you reprogram it. Okay, because you can reflash it. You can flash it to the old protocol, and that's what I'd have to do if it has access on it. I won't know that until I actually try to bind to it. And if it binds, we're good. If it doesn't bind, then it's got access on it, and I have to program it. So, and that's it. So, yeah, Michael, Crossfire is in the works for him, just not yet. So, you know, right now, Maddie is in the process of getting to the point of being the basher. And when you're the basher, you're doing everything close in. You know, yeah, in time. Yeah, in time, you know, when he gets, because I don't know what radios you got exactly, Maddie, but I know you got a couple different ones. Crossfire on that? Okay, there you go. So, yeah, you'll be able to add Crossfire to it when you're ready. It muted you. How'd that happen? You were unmuted. Wow. I didn't do that. I unmuted you.
Am I okay now?
Yeah,
let's check.
It's going through OBS.
I don't know. That's weird.
That was odd that it muted itself. I didn't do that.
Blizzard FPV,
yeah.
What's happening, bro?
On the older FR Sky radios, they have the JR Bay, okay, which is that nice little square open spot right here, where you can put FR Sky 4-in-1 modules. What's the other one? The one from Ready Made RC for the other bands. You know, they will all fit in here. The R9 system, it all goes inside the JR Bay. Any radios that got the JR Bay, you know, you can put it in. So plus they make for Crossfire, they make the mini ones, which will fit on some of the more, you know, the game controller style radios.
Yeah, which is what I have on this one.
Correct. So you'd have to get a mini Crossfire to go on that. So, but that's it. So, all right, guys, let's see here. You should give the chat the power to mute the panel, folks. No. Not a chance, Ken. That'd just be too much fun. I've seen a few streams that they give the chats a lot of power in the stream, and it's like, hey, that's fine for going and playing games, but we ain't playing games here. You know, the best thing about this is I'm trying to help all you guys out and learn how to do all this stuff. So, with that said, we'll get started on it. I want to bring you guys up to speed on what I've done so far. So, oh, well, hang on.
Hi.
Hang on. I got the wrong button again. Ooh. There we go. I just pushed the wrong button. Okay, there we go. So there's the rig. Let me make sure. Yeah, it's zoomed all the way out as far as it'll go.
Am I on the screen? I don't think I am. I don't have to be, though. All I'm doing is reading the chats. As long as you can hear me.
You are. Hold on.
I don't mind.
I got to make sure I'm on the... I pushed the wrong button. I think I've got the wrong things up right now. All right, I'll just do it manually. Stand by. There we go. There we go.
Aha.
Now I gotcha. All right, guys. So what I did was right now the flight controller is just sitting here, and I'm gonna pull that out real quick to show you guys. I gotta get my eyeballs on so I can see what flip I'm doing here. What happens when you get old and retired? All right. Let's see here. I got that. There's that one. Got to get all the appropriate tools out to do this stuff, especially when it's a nice tight build like these. And all of the newer quads are going to be a tighter build than the older ones. You know, like the Martian 2s, the Aliens, and they've got just a ton more room in them, and it's easier to work on them. All the newer stuff, everything's a little smaller, a little tighter, and they fly better, quite frankly, but it makes it a little more difficult to work on. So pop that out and get the ESC connector off. There we go. All right. So what I've done is I finished wiring up all the ESC wires. So they are now all soldered in. Everything's connected. Everything's tucked in on the arms. And that's basically all you need. Are you going to, when you fly and crash these things, yeah, there's always a chance of catching something up underneath these things. That's true no matter what build you have. The second thing I did was on the back here, there is that nice little piece that I had custom made for this. The receiver mounts on this side and where the wire plugs in right here. The antennas on this side will go up through the tailstock and out antenna tubes, which I've got to go find my antenna tube stuff. I melted the ones that I was tinkering with. Then this side is where the VTX will mount. So with that, here's the VTX. This is the gem. Now I had to desolder the connector that was mounted on the back here and direct soldered the coax right to the VTX. Now this does two things. Let me move that out. Spot out of the way from it so it looks better. This does two things. One, it keeps the coax short because this is going to be literally mounted about this close to that connector, the actual antenna mount on the back of the tailstock. Keep that in camera there. And it eliminates a connector, and because when you use connectors, you have loss between the connections. It's just a given, and you try to minimize as much of that as you can. It's not bad when you have to use them as long as you keep them close. The MMCX connectors and the UFL connectors are pretty darn good for their size. Then I had to also make, unwind this just a little bit, make it a little easier to see. Let's see here. Bring it up a little bit. Focus. There we go. I made a little brass piece to mount on the two bolts that hold the antenna connector onto the tailstock. That brass piece bolts to the base of the antenna mount because that's the ground. The shielding of the coax is the ground. So it is soldered. It's soldered to this brass piece right here, which goes down and is bolted under these bolts right to the metal part of the antenna connector. Then the center conductor of the coax is then soldered to the center pin of the antenna mount. And you try to keep this distance between where the shielding stops and where it connects to the pin of the antenna mount. You try to keep that as small as possible. The reason why is we're working at microwave frequencies at 5.8 gigahertz, and this will radiate and will detune your antenna if you're not careful. If you get it too far out, it'll mess you up. Okay? Hey, I lost your video, Maddie.
Where'd I just go?
I don't know. Your picture just went blank.
Ain't that some crap?
There you are.
Oh, there I am.
You're back. So that's what I had to do. Then, because this was so close, it was so close together, I had to loop it like this between the tailstock and give it so that it doesn't kink the coax. And that's another thing you don't want to do with coax is kink it. If you kink it, it causes a high impedance in there. It acts like you put a resistor in line, and then it don't work. And your signal range and everything goes just to crap. So, but by doing this solder job in here, this makes the best overall for the least amount of connections and to get the most amount of power out of this 200 milliwatt video transmitter, because that's all this has, and it's a fixed power output. So when it turns on, it's 200 milliwatts. It's straight up. You won't have to fuss with it, change power settings, nothing. All you'll have to deal with is just select what dip switch you need to switch for what channel and frequency you're on, and leave it set all your stuff to it. This will always turn on to that channel. So
cool.
That's it in a nutshell. Now, one thing to bear in mind too, there are some different size screws. These antenna mounts take 2.5 millimeter mounting screws. Now, I didn't put any washers on this because the tailstock on this is a little on the thick side, which pulls the threads down just a little bit on the tailstock. The antenna still threads on it just fine. I have an antenna right here. All right, let me back out just a wee. There we go. The antenna mounts on it just fine. The straight piece of the antenna, fingers work here. This part right here, the flat part, it actually goes down into the TPU just a smidge, which is absolutely fine.
And nothing wrong with that.
And there's nothing wrong with that. The antenna mounts just fine. So that way everybody can see it.
Now, is that one of your antennas, Doc?
Yes. Yeah, this is one of my antennas. So that's how that mounts on there, just like that. So you can put a short antenna on it, or you can put a long stalk on it. Doesn't matter. So on the quad, this piece here that I had made takes 2mm screws, because on the 20 by 20 mounting on the back, these have 2mm holes, because that's what a 20 by 20 flight controller or VTX uses. It uses a 2mm screw. So that's what we had here. Now, if you notice, I don't have any locking nuts on them.
Nope.
They're too hard to find. So before I go to fly this, either tonight or tomorrow, I'll put a little dab of super glue, and the way you do that is I'll take a tube of super glue, I'll squirt it on a cup or something, like the lid of an old pill bottle or whatever, and I'll use a toothpick.
Yeah.
And you dip the toothpick in the super glue, and all you do is, and I'll show it with just the tip of the, come on there, pliers. I'll just use the tip of the toothpick, and you just dab the super glue right at the base of the threads in the nut.
Right where the nut meets the nut meets the thread, yeah.
Correct, right where the nut meets the thread. And you do that on all 4 of these, and then I'll do it on these 2 as well. So that way these nuts don't come unthreaded by accident. And that's pretty much all that needs to be done on that. So, with all that said, time to get this stuff all mounted up. So first thing we'll do, I'll get this tailstock mounted up. Now, this has 2 holes in it, one here and one here, for the 2 antennas to go through if you've got a dual antenna receiver. So, and this particular one does. Hey, wind chimes.
Yeah, it's my Ring doorbell. Somebody's walked in front of my house.
There we go. All right, so there's those 2 antennas being fed through there. Okay. And you just kind of tug on them to keep them up. All right, so now that that's there, now I gotta get the screws for this. Longer ones. This one or the other one? That's the. Okay, and handy dandy tool. Gotta have this.
What's up, Corey?
Corey, man. What's up, buddy? We are finishing Maddie's quad today. Yay!
Mr. John Coopy wants to know what receiver is in that quad.
This is an RXSR, but it's a dual antennaed one, so it's, I forget which exact model it is, because there are 2 different ones, but this one is the dual antenna one. I prefer that particular receiver over the other one most of the time, just because it's small, and it just fits just about anywhere you want to mount it. Snug. Hard part about when you run a TPU mount like this is that sometimes you can't grab the thing tight enough.
Yeah.
All right. So now that we got that, so now you can see how that mounts in there. Okay. The TPU tailstock just slips over the standoffs. Coax is here. The receiver antennas, one feeds up through here, one feeds up through here. Okay. And then I'll have to go and get some tubing out of my flight bag to put here and here to hold the antennas where we want them. Okay, for the receiver. Okay, so now that we got that mounted, Now we can take the receiver. Now, I did do some pre-work on this throughout the week before this, so I'm going to move this out of the way to show you. All right. Bring this in a little closer again. All right. On the flight controller, there's, let's see, this is the front, because this is where the ESC connector is, okay? What you have is you've got your connections for your VTX, which is video, power, and ground. So it's video, power, and ground, okay, on the flight controller. Then on this side, this is, to make sure I'm grabbing the right wire here. Okay. This set of wires here is power, signal, and ground for the buzzer. Now what this does is it plugs into the ViFly. And when the quad powers up, the ViFly starts charging. It also tells the ViFly, hey, we've got a battery connected. And the signal wire then also gives you the ability to, when you flip the switch on your transmitter for the buzzer, it'll beep, and it acts as your buzzer straight away. When you unplug your battery, if you leave it unplugged, say you crash and have it ejected, okay, it beeps kind of low for a few seconds, and then it beeps loud. And it will beep loud until you plug a battery back in it or push the button on the side. So
now, is that button going to be accessible easily, or am I going to end up having to just disconnect, connect to get it to shut off?
I would disconnect and connect, because that's how I do it.
Yeah.
The button is right there on top. So
cool.
You can see it's right there in the center. You'll be able
there it is.
You'll be able to stick your finger through on the inside and push it. I don't do that. I just plug the battery back in, wait for the ESC tones, and then unplug, and it's good to go.
Good. Okay.
Right? So that was the second thing that I did. I got that soldered up and put where I wanted it. The last thing is the receiver. Now I got to pull the foam back because this covers the barrow that's in here for sensing your altitude.
Barometer, yeah. Got it.
On this flight controller, it actually labels what the connections are up here. And you've got ground, 4.5 volt, I got to go the right way, and S-bus. So it's ground, power, and S-bus. And that's what I've connected up for the receiver. You can connect up more on these receivers if you like, if you know how to use F-port and all the other stuff. But for 99% of all of us flying, you just don't need it. You just need the S-bus connection, and then you're good to go. So, but that's what I did on the flight controller, so that way it was ready to go to mount. So, get to that right now. So being that we've got the VTXs here, and I haven't stuck it down yet, okay, because we're going to, matter of fact, we probably should do that here first. Let me back out a little bit here. Oops, wrong way. There we go. Okay, so the tricky part, putting this in like this, I've got to get the little plastic covering, the little red covering off. That can be a challenge sometimes. All right.
Yeah, a little razor knife will get it there. They're a pain in the ass anyways, but yeah.
Yep, that is what an X-Acto knife is for.
Yep.
So we'll get that. Here. See, all of this that I'm showing everybody, oftentimes I can do this in like a couple of 3 hours in a single night.
Yeah.
And it's just because I already know how I want it to look. I know where I want it to go, you know, because I've already taken the time to kind of, you know, do the pre-thinking on it, right? And then it's just literally, it's just a matter of just putting it together. All right, so now I got to tuck this in here before I stick it down. I don't want it all the way down. Yet I need enough room to get the connector to clear. All right, and just give it a good push when you get it. And there you go.
You got clearance for the connector. Yep.
Clearance for the connector, clearance from the screws in the bottom. You don't want anything metal touching metal. Okay, touching the circuit board. And that's it. So now that the VTX is mounted, time for the flight controller. All right, now with this flight controller, what I'm doing is this wire and this wire, this is for the ViFly, this is for the VTX. they're going to tuck under the flight controller because their connections are on the bottom. So the flight controller sits like this, camera in the front, arrow pointing towards the camera. And then we'll just very carefully slip this down in here. Oh, before I slip it down in here, I got to connect the ESC. That one's got to connect up first. That's where these really long needle nose pliers come in handy for this, because I can do this with it and plug it right in. And then the other one, it's got to plug in like that. The Firefly. So that's got to tuck down. Okay. Firefly. Come in there, you little bugger. Get in there. You must be outside, Maddie. I hear a lot of people.
Yeah, my neighbors have got a whole bunch of people over here. I don't know what the hell's going on.
There we go.
I stepped out for a minute.
Yeah, now the Wi-Fi is plugged in. Yeah, that's right, because you're a couple hours ahead. All right, so now that the Wi-Fi is plugged in, all these wires I'll just tuck over to one side just to keep them out of the way, you know, and not get pinched. The biggest thing about when you do this stuff is do your best not to pinch a wire, because you pinch a wire, and man, it is a pain in the rear end to troubleshoot because you don't know where it pinched. So you do your best to not pinch it out of the gate. Now, if you had everything on connectors, this particular flight controller, I could have plugged all in on connectors, but I didn't. Oh. Let's see here. Are those dip switches on the VTX? Yes, John. This is the older VTXs, the 200 milliwatt fixed, and it's only got like 32 channels, and they are 100% stable. They don't overheat. You set them to their to the channel you're on, and man, they just work, and you don't gotta worry about it.
This is going to be one of those close-on freestyle quads for me. This is not going to be a long range, none of that crap. It's going to stay close. 200 milliwatts is plenty for what I need it for.
And mind you, 200 milliwatts will go quite a ways in open areas.
Oh yeah.
So just keep that in mind, guys. You don't need a lot of power, to fly most places. Now, once you get out, a couple 300 yards, okay, now you're talking 200 milliwatts. You've got any obstructions whatsoever.
Yeah.
Then you're going to start losing signal.
Yep.
If you've got an antenna that's not real good, you're going to start losing signal. So, yeah, Night Train, 200 milliwatts will get you mighty far. I mean, I flew 200 milliwatts for almost the first 2 years I was flying FPV. I didn't put higher powered ones in because I didn't need them. Matter of fact, the first high powered one I put in was in my first X-Hover Stingy V2. I put I think I put an 800 in it. No, I put a 1 watt in it. And my first high-powered one was in my America build. I put a 600 milliwatt adjustable in that one. But then when I got my Stingy V2, I put a 1 watt system in it. And that's typically what I run now.
Yeah.
So my next long-range one, though, will have a 2 watt system in it. So, all right. So just make sure these... Yeah, and the silicone wires are cool. You just got to be careful pinching them. That's right, Mike. So just make sure they're kind of tucked in. They don't have to be zipped down or anything like that. They just got to not be pinched by anything. Like I've still got 2 standoffs to put right here. So we want to make sure that these wires will stay inside and not get pinched. And the VTX, or the camera, get it plugged in. Make sure I plug it in the right way. No, other way. That way. And that's the nice part about most of the cameras today. The back of the camera is labeled. So that way you will know if the plug's wired right and going in correctly. Then this extra wire here, this extra plug, this is for the 5-position thumb button. This allows you to go in and access the camera controls that's built into the camera. You can go in and change your color settings, your brightness, your contrast, all that stuff on these cameras that have this capability. And that'll be something I'll be sending this Matty with, is one of those little button things that plug into this. So that way he can adjust it to his liking. Because it is a personal preference, guys. Each set of goggles is set up different, and each person's eyes is a little different. So, you know, don't be afraid to get in there and tweak on your stuff. You know, make it look the way you want it to look. All right, so I got that there. So now we can put these last two standoffs on. Out of there. Again, the trusty handy dandy.
Now, is there something I can put on the front of that that will protect that camera a little more for front end collision?
Don't hit nothing.
There you go. Good point.
And if you do, you do. I mean, yeah, there are other frames that have a little better camera protection, but you know what?
Well, the camera's not that difficult to change out, so.
No, I mean, I've been flying this stuff now, this type of stuff, for over 4 years now, and I have only broke 2 cameras, and that was it. And one of them was very well protected, and the back of the camera came out. It just popped it loose and spit all the guts out. And the other one, it just quit on me. It was just a cheap camera. So, all right. So there's that. Flight controller screw down. Arrow points to the front of the quad, you know, points to the camera. Okay. So now we go over here to the back. Okay, this is the receiver wire. Okay. And it is going to connect. Plug it in right the first time. Or is it backwards? Always got to double check. Yep, that's the right way.
Ken, place it here, said thanks. He's enjoying this.
Did he? Oh, good.
Good man. Good man.
I'm glad you guys enjoy this, because this is something that's a lot of guys aren't doing much of. You know, showing how to build one of these darn things. It's not hard, guys. I mean, look at all the parts. You got motors, frame, camera, flight controller, 4-in-1 ESC, receiver, VTX, and antenna mount. That's it.
Yep.
That's it. It's not a lot of components. And if you take the time and buy stuff that's got all the connectors, and you got a flight controller that, like this particular one, has connectors literally for everything, you almost don't even have to solder much other than on the ESCs.
Yeah.
So you can just plug everything in, and it all works. So, yeah, don't be afraid of this stuff. It's not difficult, guys. It just take a little time. Take your time putting it all together. There's nothing wrong with taking your time putting it together. Okay, so that's the receiver. Connector's all plugged in. When I put the heat shrink on, I know it's a little hard to see because it's a itty bitty teeny weeny button. But let's see if I can do this. Right there, I cut a piece of the heat shrink off. That is the bind button on this receiver.
Cool.
That way you can get to it. Okay. All right, now for the VTX. Turn around this way. Now, mind you, I haven't, I mounted this, but it's not mounted rigid. I can still undo this right now, and I did that on purpose because I didn't know how it was all going to fit together. I might have to turn this a little or turn this a little, to make sure the VTX fit and the wires fit and everything's sat right.
Mm-hmm.
So don't zip tie stuff down hard that doesn't need to be yet. Like the bottom one, that needed to be zip tied down hard because that's got to stay right there. But the top can move and go where we need it. All right, so now for the VTX, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold the wire a little bit. This is a little rigid wire that comes with these type of VTXs. They don't have the silicone wire, so they're a little more rigid, but you can fold them down in and keep them out of the way.
John Coopy's got a question. He asked,
shoot.
why no soft mount on this flight controller?
Quite frankly, not all flight controllers really need it. That's simple. If they come with it, use it. It's that simple. This particular flight controller does not come with soft mount. Don't use it. But this flight controller is not mounted to metal studs either. This is
They're
mounted
nylon.
to, these are nylon studs. The metal screws are in the bottom holding the ESC down. But then to hold the ESC down on, there we go. To hold the ESC down on the metal screw that comes up through the bottom plate is a nylon nut stud. And that's what's holding the ESC down. Then the flight controller mounts to the nylon threaded part on the top with nylon nuts. That way there's no metal to metal contact. That way nothing shorts out. Because some of these boards, the holes that go through the boards, they sometimes are hot. And if you mount this to a metal screw, your screw is going through carbon. The carbon is ground.
Mm-hmm.
And it will ground out. And it'll short the flight controller out, and it'll be poof, and it's done. So, but for this particular one, it doesn't require it. You know, it didn't come with that design, so I'm not going to worry about it. If it has an issue, now mind you, the only reason for this frame to have an issue is bad motor, bad bearings, loose parts. The flight controller is going to sense that vibration and go crazy. Okay? Yeah. So key point is check your screws. Make sure everything's tight. Check your motors. Make sure they spin okay. They're not loose and floppy, because that will cause vibration. That's what you got to do. That's the maintenance side of taking care of these things. Is, if you sense something's not flying right, land and check something. Something's coming undone. If you hear something while it's flying by, hear a buzzing noise, put the thing on the ground quick, because it's probably a motor about ready to fall off. How do I know that? Yeah, I had it happen twice.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that was actually kind of fun. I heard it when it went by, and oh, crap. And I turned around, and as I'm making my way back to me to land, the motor come flying off. I saw it literally flop forward in my camera view, and then I saw the quad go roll over and play dead. So I had to go pick it up.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, everything is now plugged in. Okay. So the one thing I'm going to unplug for the moment is I'm going to unplug the VTX right now. And the reason for that is I don't have an antenna on it at the moment.
Yeah, you don't want to burn it up.
And we need to check.
Yep.
How brave am I? I'm very brave.
On camera, baby.
On camera.
Oh, boy.
Ready? Just going to go, right?
Don't do that. No. Have faith.
No, it works fine.
Scared the shit out of me, man.
Why do I know it works fine? Is because I already had this system in a quad wired exactly the same way. So I didn't change anything. Okay? So this part I know worked. Oh,
good stuff.
Hey,
Bob Casey, what's up, buddy?
What's up? All right, so now we know this all works. Okay? Camera's plugged in. I know it's, this is sending a signal, but I'm not watching for it because I don't have the VTX plugged in. Okay? So we'll deal with that later. But this was just a quick test. ESCs worked. They all chimed. Flight controller's working. It's giving me the signal that it's receiving something. So now it's time to plug it into Betaflight. Okay? That's what I'm missing. Rats. I forgot to grab cord. Oh, hang on.
There's the beeper.
You hear it? I want everybody to hear it.
There's the beeper.
Wait for it. Usually takes about 15 to 30 seconds. I can hear it pretty loud even with these on.
Oh, I can hear it.
Waiting for it to get louder. Come on. Plus the battery's a little low. There it is.
There it goes. Hello. Oh, okay, so it beeps.
This is what the Vi-Fly does. If this crashed and ejected the battery, you are now listening to your lost model. And you got to find that beep.
Yep.
Now, to make this stop, and then you notice it's got a little blue light that flashes here too. I got it a little covered up with the wiring, but that's okay. So what you have to do now is this. Plug it in till the motors chime.
Mm-hmm.
Unplug. And you hear 3 beeps out of the Vi-Fly, and she's disarmed.
Done. Got it.
That's it. It's that simple, guys.
Good.
So, all right. So we got that. So, all right. Everybody look at this pretty little thing here. And
Yeah, look at it pretty right now, because when it gets in my hands, it ain't going to look that pretty.
yeah, it ain't going to last that long being pretty. All right. Give me a second. I got to grab a USB cord out of my bag right here. All righty. And yes, I have lots of cords. Never go anywhere without them.
Oh, I have so many of those things, it's not even funny.
Not all of them will work, though. That's the catch.
Yeah.
So sometimes you can get good ones, and sometimes you get ones that do not work with data. They're just a charging cord only. Let's go. B, A to A.
Got some new battery straps. iFlight. I love these things.
Oh yes,
These iFlight battery straps are badass.
Yep. Typically, though, it's funny. I use just the RDQ ones. They work just fine for me.
Yeah, I have a bunch of those because I've ordered so many things through RDQ. It comes with a battery strap.
Every time. On my flight bag, you will see it. When you guys all see me at spin up, my main flight bag, the handle that you pick the bag up from, it's nothing but battery straps. But they do come in handy. I have broken a few in, crashing and flying. All right, so I got two there. Let's see which one of these will work. Worst case, I'll have to go out get another one out of my flight bag because I know I got a good one out in the flight bag. All right, how am I going to do this here? In there. All right. USB connectors on this side right here. And it's goody so I can get to my mouse. All right. Minimize this. And I got to bring up. Find it. There it is. Beta flight. Okay. Oh, we don't want to go changing that. All right. What is page number?
See, now this might actually teach me something because watching you do that may actually help me fix what's wrong with this.
Yes, we'll go through the list here. I just got to get the right one here. I'm probably going to lose you off screen.
That's fine.
For a moment, because this one I didn't have set for you in the picture. So, in fact, I could probably fix that real quick, but it's only going to be a few minutes to do that.
Don't worry, it's no big deal.
All right. Picture and web page. Here we go. All right.
Can you still hear me though?
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah, because you're on the desktop audio.
Good.
All right. So now we're going to plug the quad in. Now this should power the receiver, but nothing else. And that did not. Okay. I'm there. Just to double check, let me try board. It actually put power in there. It was charging the Wi-Fi.
Hey, there you go.
With the 5 volts. So let's try this one. There it goes. Okay. Hey, we got the ding. All right, that cord is not a data cord. Okay. So there we go. All right, so you can see that as I turn the quad right and left, it's going right, going left, okay? As I tilt back, the arrow comes up, that's front. Tilt forward, the arrow goes down, correct? So now I'll turn it this way.
See, now on that 7-inch, everything's backwards.
That's okay.
When I tilt forward, it rolls.
Okay, and then roll right, roll left. Okay, so all of that's good. Okay. Now the next thing we got to do, guys, chat. Let me know. Can you guys see that all okay? As far as the beta flight screen, because this is kind of a big deal. Because this is where everybody gets, oh my God, the world's going to come to an end, kind of thing. Okay, and I want to point out this is not all that difficult. It just, you have to go through the steps. So
Nails in the hobby, so yeah. And she does
here.
more
The Velcro wore out, yeah. Yeah, straps. Good. Okay, all right. Ken can see it good. All right, so that means everybody can see. All right. So the first thing you want to do with this kind of stuff, all right. So this is the first time it's in this frame. This actually has the pads on the bottom that it sits on. My table is relatively level. It's about as level as you really need it for most tables. So what you do is you come up here to Calibrate Accelerometer. What that does is it calibrates the gyros to what level in all three axes are. And just click it, it calibrates, and it's done. So now, as far as it's concerned, this is level. And that's where you start. So, you know, like I could turn it like this, hit it again, it'll calibrate, and it's good. It's, everything is still pretty close to 0, 0. All right, so the next one is the ports. This is the important one. Okay, for the serial RX, which is this right here, this is where your receiver talks to the flight controller. It is on UART2, which is what it should be. Then this one here on UART5, if I remember right, this has to be like this for the oh my goodness, the SpeedyBee app has to be set this way. So you've got MSP configuration on USB, which is what I'm plugged into, and then also on UART5, which is what the SpeedyBee app connects to the flight controller through Bluetooth. So that'll be set like this. Because we're not using a smart audio VTX, we aren't going to set any of the other UARTs over here for the peripherals for that, because we don't need them. So then the next thing, configuration. All right, this is the important one. For most quads, you got to know which way your props are spinning. I set my 5-inch quads up with props out, which is the reverse, which is this one right here. So that way, when you're looking at it from the front, motor 2 and 4, which are the two front motors, the prop tips will spin away from the camera. And that's what props out mean. And what that does is, as you come up on something, let's say you come up and you clip a tree branch, the prop will actually push the quad away from the branch versus grab the branch and draw the quad into the branch. That's the plus side to running props out. Save that, there is very little, if any, noticeable difference in flight characteristics for anything else. But that one thing is well worth it. All right, next things, D-Shot 600. This ESC is capable of D-Shot, so that is fine. We'll leave that there. But one thing I can do, whew, that was a big ding there. Is that me or you? Oh, that must have been me. All right, let's see here. What I will do though, rather than having this do D-Shot, which is the only difference between the protocols, you've got D-Shot is digital. It means that all the motors are controlled digitally. It is faster, it is more efficient, it's more synchronized, if you will. But for the average person, you're never, ever, ever going to notice the difference between non-digital and digital ESC operations. And for the purpose of showing you guys how to do this, I'm actually going to set this to multi-shot, which is what I run most of the time on most of my quads. I don't run D-Shot on anything normally. So with multi-shot though, you need to have a few other things you got to do when we get to the motor tab, which is a big deal to show. All right, here's the other thing for you, Maddie, with your other quad, where it says board and sensor alignment.
Yeah.
That's the one that you'll have to deal with in Betaflight for fixing the other quad. Because if the flight controller is sitting in the correct orientation,
it is. Yeah, the arrow's pointing forward.
Okay, that means that the sensor orientation is off.
Okay.
And you'll fix that here in Betaflight in the roll, pitch, and yaw. You can adjust that.
Okay.
So, oh, somebody's dinging Messenger tonight, huh?
Yeah. I'll explain later.
Yeah, it's okay. All right, next thing over here on system configuration. This is the factory setup. I don't mess with it. I have no need to. The guys that race mess with this because they need it to be absolutely as quick, sharp, clean, and as you need. And yeah, I'm gonna definitely try and get to BL Heli tonight. So that way, at least I can show it to you guys. Because this particular ESC doesn't need to be reset unless the motors are backwards, and we'll find that out when I power it all up. You want the accelerometer turned on. This particular flight controller has a barometer, so you turn it on, and you don't need a magnetometer because it does not have a compass built into the board, so you turn that off. The next thing is over here on arming. You want to set this to 180 right here. The reason for setting that to 180 is that if you crash and you've got the more up-to-date beta flights, you can do turtle mode, and you'll need this set to 180 to be able to arm the quad in turtle mode while it's upside down. Otherwise, it will not arm, and you won't be able to use it. All right, next thing, personalization. This we have to actually change because this is no longer in the fly ant. So we need to call this thing something. Let's see here. Maddie's Basher.
Yeah.
And that will be his quad name. Okay. And then the other thing we need to do here is under the receiver tab, click the pull down. Because we're using a FR Sky receiver, or if you were using a Crossfire receiver, you would set this to serial-based receiver, and that's SPEK SAT, SBUS, or SUMD. I don't know what the other two forms of protocols are, but they are still a serial-based protocol that goes into the flight controller for the flight controller to understand. If you were running like a whoop that uses an SPI receiver, then you would select SPI receiver support. So this one here, since it's SBUS, that'll be that. Then because we're using an FR Sky receiver instead of a Fly Sky receiver, which is what I had tied to this board, we have to select the different receiver in here. So because we're using SBUS, it doesn't specifically call FR Sky unless you want to use F port, and we're not using F port tonight. So if you were Crossfire, you'd select Crossfire. If you were Fly Sky, you'd select IBUS, and for FR Sky with the RXSRs, you select SBUS. So that will be the receiver protocol. And then we leave all of that alone. We leave the 3D ESCs alone. We do not have a GPS connected, so we leave that alone. Then other features. These typically will all come on when you first load Betaflight on a brand new flight controller. These will all be switched on. So typically you don't use most of these. So in-flight accelerometer, calibrate, servo tilt, sonar, display. Now that's for an OLED display on the flight controller, not in the goggles. Channel forwarding, transponder. I turn air mode off in this. And the reason why is because I put air mode on a switch.
Yeah, so do I.
Okay? Important to do that. Right? OSD is on, anti-gravity is on, and dynamic filters on. Then in the D-Shot beacon, since we're not going to be running D-Shot, you would normally turn these on so that way the motors can act as your beacon as well. But because we're not using D-Shot, this won't have any effect on anything. Beeper configuration, gyro calibrated. Just turn it off. You don't need to worry about that. RX loss, you want that. RX lost landing. This will beep SOS when armed and the transmitter is turned off while armed. Okay, the receiver will send a signal into everything, and it will start beeping SOS through the motors. Okay, disarming, it'll beep. Arming, it'll beep. All these other ones you turn off. RX set, you want it to beep. The reason for that is when you plug in, one of those startup tones that you hear is telling you that the receiver has made connection to the flight controller and that it's good to go. That is one of those beeps you hear. We don't need any of these other ones. Armed, when you flip the arm switch, you want it to beep. That way you know you armed it. You're not just listening for the prop and motor noise. System initialization, these are some of the power on beeps you hear. When you plug in via USB, plug the cord in to do like Betaflight, you want it to beep. Black box erase, don't need to worry about that. Crash flip, you want it to beep when you're doing that. That way you know you're in that mode if you use that mode. Cam connection, you can turn those off. RC smoothing, initialization fail. Beep when armed, and RC smoothing has not initialized filter. Why that one's still on? You don't need that one on. Alright, so now that we got all that set, and this is the configuration page, make sure this is quad X, reversed, select your ESC setups, and the other things that we went through the list to set. Then all you do is come down here to the bottom, save and reboot. You have to remember to save and reboot. If you don't save and reboot, you just spent 20 minutes doing all this and got to go back and do it again.
I've done that.
Okay. Connect. Now it's being fussy now. All right. Unplug. Plug back in. Connecting. Come on. Sometimes Betaflight gets a wild hair up its tush.
Yeah, sometimes I have to connect it again. I just have to push the connect button again, and it usually works out.
Yep, that's what it did just then. All right, there we go. So we're back up and running. All right, so we've gone through the Setup tab, Ports tab, and Configuration tab. The next one is Power and Battery. Now, for the most part, this one's pretty simple. Maddie, you're going to be running 5S on this, right?
Yes.
Okay. So with 5S, and how big's the battery?
1300s.
All right. So right here where it says capacity, we run this down to 1300. Or you can just go like this.
Let me double check that just in case.
It probably is.
Yeah, I think they are.
You backspace it, type 1300. Okay, so that's the size of the battery. Then you have to decide on your max battery cells. Now, I put 4.35 as maximum cell voltage. The reason why I did that is I've had issues where with a 5 cell, when it's fully charged, it would go just a hair over that max individual cell voltage, and then it would select it as a 6S, and then tell me I got a low battery the whole time. Okay, so I bumped this up to 4.35.
Got it.
On the transmitter, Ken, yeah, I think there's a spot in OpenTX where you can do that through telemetry, and you can get your transmitter to talk to you and tell you what the battery voltage is. But I usually put it up on screen on the OSD, and it just makes it much, much easier. Let's see here. Front to rotate out. That would help. Yeah. Remember, guys, props out, where the prop tips are rotating away from the camera. When you bump into a tree branch, a pole, whatever, the prop will tend to push the quad away from it instead of suck it into it. That's the reasons for going reverse props. Props out. Okay. All right. Warning cell voltage. Now, this is where we kind of got to get a little more of a personal preference. I run mine down a little lower as far as the warning cell voltage, especially the minimum cell voltage. That way I'm not constantly running up against the thing going, hey, warning, low voltage, and I still got plenty of power. Hey, land now, and I still got plenty of power. So I set these the way I set these. Other than that, you might have to tinker with the voltage meter. I've had to adjust them a couple different times depending on the quad, depending on the flight controller, depending on the ESC. Every combination kind of fusses with this a little bit, and you got to tinker with it just a little. Best way to do it, get one of those battery checkers that has a voltage counter on it that tells you what the max voltage is and what the individual cell voltage is. And plug it into your balance lead, plug it into Betaflight, and compare the two. If they're not the same, adjust the voltage meter and the amperage meter. You'll tinker with those in there. That's where you do that at. All right, so once you've done this, we've set this to 1300 milliamps. Remember to click Save. Okay, now this one doesn't save and reboot on the battery tab, but it does save. All right, failsafe. This is kind of an important one. Effectively, what you want this thing to do is if it goes into failsafe, you want the quad just to fall out of the sky. You don't want this thing to go flying off somewhere on its own. Unless you have iNav or you have GPS rescue. Then you won't set it to that. You'll set it to those systems. Save those two systems, set it to fall. You don't want it to even land. You want it to drop, which is what this is right here in stage 2. You can tinker with the stage 1 and 2 settings as far as when it happens. For each number in this one right here is 0.1 seconds. So this is 4/10 of a second. If it doesn't have a signal for 4/10 of a second, it will hit the failsafe trigger. But if it comes back, it'll stop. It'll rearm. But if it doesn't, then it drops. And for failsafe throttle, you want this low. So, and you don't want any delay. So, I mean, I set mine to 100. That gives me about 10 seconds, which is too much for Natty in particular. So we will set this to 10, which is equivalent to 1 second. So within 1 second, it will go to a low throttle. So that gives a full 1,000 milliseconds for the quad to reacquire the transmitter signal and keep going. If it doesn't, then the throttle automatically chops and it goes to the ground. Okay, you understand that, Maddie? Okay.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Let's see here. The rest of this, GPS rescue. Here's where the GPS rescue is if you have it. Okay. Then over here, we've got the pulse signals and settings and all of that. Pretty much you don't have to mess with any of this. Channel fallback settings are all auto. Okay. They basically just hold their positions. That's what they do. And if the receiver does not have a signal within the allotted time, then it holds those settings other than the throttle after 1 second, and then just chops the throttle and the thing comes straight down. So then once we've done that, save and reboot, same thing. Hey, good, it rebooted that time. All right, so that's the failsafe tab. The next thing is PID tuning. Now, for the most part, I've already got the flight controller tuned because it came out of a 5-inch. It's going in a 5-inch. It's going to fly very, very, very similar. Okay. On PID Profile 1, these are the factory settings. Okay. So if you want to try them out, you go into your OSD and you go into the flight controller or use your SpeedyBee app, connect to it, go up here to the PID tuning tab, select PID Profile 1, and that puts it to the factory PID profile. But I've flown this setup on these PIDs, and this flies very good like this. It's more than tight enough, and it handles well. So you may want to, if you want to tinker with it, go to PID Profile 3 and create a new profile. And that way you can set it up however you like it, Maddie, okay?
Well, fortunately for me, I don't know how to run PIDs, so I have no idea. I know how to do rates. I don't know how to do. I don't know what PIDs are. So
okay,
I'll have to YouTube that.
I have a rate profile as well. Rate Profile 1 is basically factory settings. Okay. Rate Profile 2 is mine. Okay. So this has got some D-mins and things all set here. I usually don't mess with too much of this down here for me because I'm not flying hard, racing hard, trying to get the absolute nth out of the flight controller and the quad. Honestly, I don't need it. But here's your rate profiles. Okay, let me click back here. Rate profile 1 is 600 degrees per second on the roll, pitch, and yaw. Rate profile 2 is 900 degrees. That's what I fly.
Jesus.
Okay? But it's because that's what I fly.
Yeah.
So for you,
I'm used to being in the lower 6s.
I was going to say, you may find that this will handle better for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. So I'll leave it on rate profile 1. Know that rate profile 2 has my rates on it.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, those I've gotten used to playing with, so that I can handle.
Okay, so there's that. So this is all good to go. I'm not going to explain how to do all of this too much, guys, because that's literally a video. Just doing the PID profile is a video all in itself on how to do it, how to tune the quad. So suffice to say that I've taken the time already and gotten with a couple other flyers, and we've tinkered with this and came up with this set of PIDs for the basic 5-inch True X and Squished X frames. These PIDs and rates work really good. Okay. As far as a baseline, you can tweak them from there, but these have been very good. I've put them on almost every 5-inch I've put it in, and I have not had to touch them since. Every 5-inch I've done. So that's where that's at. So we'll click save. That way we make sure all of that's saved. Now we go to the receiver tab. Here comes the fun. All right. Now we got to see if the receiver connects. All right, so I know I'm not connected to this right now. So I've got to get this into binding mode. So page.
By all the videos that I...
Here we go. Bind. All right. Okay. Now when we do this, it's hard to show what I'm going to do, but I'm going to set my bind mode into 16 channel. I don't know how well it's going to come on camera. That'll probably look better on overhead. Hang on. Let me show this overhead real quick. All right. So this is how I'm gonna set my transmitter up to bind to this receiver. It's gonna be channels 9 through 16, telemetry on. And that's where it's gonna set at. All right. So we press enter. Okay, now my transmitter's in bind mode. Now to get the receiver in bind mode, I'm gonna have to unplug this and hold the button down while I plug it back in. So bear with me for a second. Okay, hold the button. Plug in. Power's up. Now I've got 2 lights on the receiver, which is interesting. There's a good chance it may be in D16 mode, or in access. And yep, it did not bind. Try one more time. Page there.
Hey, Doc,
Yes.
you can use the USB when binding, or do you have to have a battery plugged in?
No, you can use the USB when binding. It's just providing 5 volts to the receiver.
Hmm.
On. Okay, right. In bind mode again. All right, let's try this again. Hold it. Hang on, let me go. Getting anything, which I don't think I am because I think it's access. Yep. Because that should have bound right away as soon as I did that. Yep. Okay. Plug. Plug back in. Yep, it did not bind. Okay, so this receiver is on access. So what that means, I'm going to have to go in and I'm going to have to actually download the software, which I already have, and I'm going to have to get it to program up. The way you do that with these, so let me bring out, I'll get everything else set up other than receiver, which is kind of a bummer. I was hoping that it was on the original FrSky protocol, but it is not. So let me go into the modes tab and we'll do this here because this stuff is basic on any radio we set up. So first off, when you do the arms, but because the receiver's not working, I can't actually make a move. What I do is on my radio, here, there we go. I use my top left toggle switch as my arm switch because it's a 2 position. And what I do is the first switch arms the quad but leaves air mode off. Second position, the quad is already armed, it turns air mode on. And what that's used for is landing, and if you're doing maneuvers where you're going to touch something, going to bump into something, try to land on something and take back off, you want to turn air mode off. If you don't turn air mode off, this thing's going to act like a ping pong ball when it touches it. So that's why I do it on this one. I then put my mode switch. Acro is all the way down. Angle mode is the first click up, coming towards me. And then full horizon mode is all the way up. And what that does is I always make sure all my switches are down. When I first pick my radio up, they're all down and away. So that way when I turn the radio on, it tells me everything's happy and that something's not going to accidentally turn on inadvertently. That way it's a conscious effort that I have to do to actually flip something towards me to turn it on. And that's what I do. Not everybody does it that way, and again, that's a big personal preference thing for everybody. You have to pick and choose what feels comfortable and feels right for you. In general, you'll find most pilots fly with the arm switch on the left because that's where your throttle is. So it's just typically. Yeah, so you can, and if you're comfortable with doing, your acro up and horizon down, that's absolutely fine. It is 100% a personal preference thing. So that is how I set all the mode switches up here. Arm is on aux 1, angle and horizon are on aux 2. For my radio, aux 1 is top left, aux 2 is top right. So then when you come down here, beeper is aux 4. That is typically on one of the single position switches, which is, for me is this one here below my arm switch. So if I need the beeper, again, down is off for me. So if I go down but I know I'm still connected, but I'm down and I can't get it to take back off again, I can just flip the beeper up and the quad will start beeping at me. and then that's what that switch is for. Then if you go into the rest of the stuff, you got air mode. This is where I set air mode up. Air mode only turns on my arm switch when it's all the way up. So that's why this part here is yellow, only on the far right. Up is to the right on the modes tabs, down is to the left on the modes tabs. Unless you change directions in Betaflight for this kind of stuff. Or actually it's in the radio. You can get into OpenTX to adjust that. Then there's all these other things you can do. The different camera controls, pit mode if you've got a VTX that accepts that. Acro Trainer, never really worried about that. Launch control is an interesting one. This is for the racers. You ever seen those guys that, when they get on those launch pads, they flip a switch and the quad comes up and then holds that angle and doesn't move, but everything's armed and spinning? That's what that is. That's launch control. Then when they hit the switch, it goes and it takes off. Kind of cool stuff, but not for most of us. Let's see here. Because of the version of Betaflight that I'm using, I do not have turtle mode as an option, and that's fine because, quite frankly, Maddie ain't gonna need it. You're gonna be walking, buddy.
Yeah, I'll walk. I have turtle mode I can set up in mine if I wanted to, but I probably won't need it.
Yeah, I wouldn't, just honestly. So there's the modes. So then we go on. So when you're done setting your modes up, again, remember to click save. That is very, very, very important. Don't forget to click save before you move on to the next tab. If you move on to the next tab and forget to save, oftentimes you'll lose all the settings. Okay? All right, adjustments. This is if you've got servos and things like that that you need to tweak. Again, here's all the servo control if you got servos. Motors tab. All right. This is something that we can actually do right now, even though the receiver is not binding. Excuse me. All right, what we have to do, since the props are off. Now, I'm going to try, let's see here. I don't know if I can do that. Let's see here. Because I need web page and I need overhead. Web page, main cam. Nope. All right, what we will do. Give me just a second here, guys. I'm going to create a little spot where you can actually see what the motors are doing. Mode. Add the other camera in. Okay, I'm going to cover up just a little bit of this. There we go. All right. But you'll be able to see what the actual motors do when we do this. Zoom this in a little bit. Other way. There we go. All right. Okay. What we need to do here is we go over here. Make sure the props are off, guys. Number one, props off when you do this part.
Always.
This will get you scars if you don't. All right. So click I understand. Okay. Then we need a battery. I happen to have a handy-dandy battery right here. All right. Before we plug the battery in, because I have this set to multi-shot, you have to synchronize the 4 ESCs to where they will work at the same moment. And to do that, the way you do it in Betaflight is you have the motor master tab all the way down from the moment. Click I understand the risks. Okay? Take the props off. You then slide the master motor tab all the way up. Okay? Nothing's happening on the motors. As you can see, motors are, there you go. Okay? Ooh, realize that. I gotta fix something. It bugs me when it's upside down. There we go. And then backwards. Ah, there we go. Now I'm comfortable. Left, right, up, down. Yeah, there we go. All right. Now we take the battery. Okay. Motor tab is slid all the way up as if the motors are running full power. Plug the battery in and listen for the tones. Okay, that's the up tone. That synchronized the top end. Now we got to synchronize the bottom end. Take the master motor tab, slide it all the way to the bottom. All 4 ESCs are now synchronized. They will work in conjunction with themselves and at the same time now. Now what we can do is we can check direction. Okay? So take motor number 1. This is motor number 1. Okay? It should be spinning props out. Okay? If you look, in fact, let me move the mind you the picture up here. Okay? The props spin away from the camera and away from the VTX antenna. Okay? So motor number 1 is here. We'll run motor number 1 up a little bit. Okay, motor number 1 is spinning, and it is spinning outward. It is spinning counterclockwise, which is what it should be. Okay, motor 2 is this one. This one should be spinning clockwise. And it is spinning clockwise. All right. Motor number 3, this one. This one should be spinning clockwise. And this one is spinning clockwise. This is motor number 4. This should be spinning counterclockwise. And we are. Cool. We don't have to do anything fancy with BL Heli tonight. Okay. So all 4 motors are spinning in the correct directions. These 2 are spinning outward, and these 2 are spinning outward away from the antenna. Okay. So in the motors tab, we're all done. This is set up. It is working. It is 100% set correctly. So now we can unplug the battery. So that way the motors don't go crazy on us. Okay. So then we move on to the OSD tab. Okay. All right. So now I'm go ahead and hide that. Okay. In the newer versions of Betaflight, they give you multiple OSD profiles.
Yep.
So you can pick what you want on screen for whatever you want to do. Doesn't matter. Those are 2 things you want on screen always.
I have my battery voltage and my RSSI signal. That's pretty much it.
Right.
Just
Typically,
about.
you don't need to worry about the RSSI, especially if you're going to fly, FR Sky. You're going to be in close anyhow.
Yep.
Okay. All right. First thing, altitude. Because this has a barrow in it, you can have altitude displayed. Okay. Which is really super handy. Okay. And all you do is select where it's at. There we go. Altitude right now is showing right here. What I would do is we'll move it up here into the top right corner. Like so. Then battery current milliamps drawn. This is how much power you've sucked out of your battery. This is right here in this bottom right. Battery usage is this bar right here. It's a handy thing just to have a graphical description of what your battery is. Kind of like looking at an LCD version of a battery thing on your phone. That's basically what it is. You're not having to actually read the numbers. You can just glance at it and go, crap, I'm below a quarter of the tank. Then for battery voltage, I have this down here on the bottom left. And then the compass bar is not needed because it doesn't have a compass. It just has the barrow. So we'll turn that off. Craft name, Maddie's Basher. We'll move it over a little bit though. That way it's more centered. Centered. There we go. Now it's centered. Now it says Maddie's Basher. Crosshairs. This is a neat little tidbit that Justin Hadley from Hadley's Famous told me. Put the crosshairs up. The reason why is because you're flying the camera the majority of the time. You're looking at the center of the screen the majority of the time. If you got that little crosshair in the center of the screen and you're trying to fly through a small gap, you put that little crosshair in the center of that gap and you keep it there and you'll fly right through that gap.
Let me tell you, I had that crosshair. I have that crosshair on my Tiny Hawk 2 Freestyle.
Yep.
Okay, I turned it off.
Yeah.
And I was all wonky when I flew it again.
Yep.
I had to put it back on.
Yep.
It was not the same.
It's weird how that changes it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was a huge difference. I couldn't keep the quad straightish to save my life, and it was just, I was all wonky. I had to put it back on right away.
It's amazing how just that one little tiny thing on screen makes that big a difference for most people.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, run the crosshair, guys. So, all right, next thing. Home direction. That is not going to help us much. Okay?
No GPS, right? That's
correct. And then I'm looking for the other thing up here. Throttle position. We don't need that off. Warnings you want. Now, what the warnings do is where it says low voltage here on screen, that's where your warnings are going to pop up. Okay? But what we need is individual cell voltage. Looking for battery average cell. Here we go. So this is the other thing you want on. I actually watch this more than I watch the full battery voltage.
So do I.
I watch the individual cell voltage. So.
Yep.
So for the most part, this is everything I put on here. There's not much needed for anything else. So go over here, make sure you're set to NTSC for your video format. You want units to be imperial. Timers. I use the second timer with the total arm time. So that way, if you want to look at that or put it on screen, you can.
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, sweetie. Doing?
Hi. Yeah, I know.
Okay, RSSI, these are your alarms. Capacity, okay. I need to adjust this one. That one needs to be alarms. So, like, if it senses a bigger capacity than 1400, then it'll give you an alarm. And altitude, it ain't going to make much of a hill of beans there. Warnings, okay, arming disabled. Battery critical, battery not full, battery warning, crash flip mode, although we're not going to use it. So I'll just turn that off because you're not going to need it. ESC fail, definitely want that on because if your ESC fails when you go to arm, it'll give you a warning, say ESC has failed. Visual beeper, when you turn the beeper switch on, it will actually flash beep on screen. Okay. Battery current draw maximum. Okay, battery milliamps used. These are all the post-flight statistics that you'll get. Battery voltage minimum, how far down you drew the battery on the flight. And then timer 2. That's it. And click saved. And it is now saved. Okay, okay, fine. No, I got to charge it too. No, it's still. All right, be quiet. Radio's talking to me. All right, so that's everything on the OSD. We're not using an LED strip. This is where you would program that. Mm-hmm. I still don't totally get the programming on this yet. I have tried. I can get it to work sometimes. Sometimes I can't. It's just weird. So the guys that know how to do that are top-notch for that stuff, guys. Sensors. This is basically sensing your gyros when you move it. I am turning the, flipping the quad around right now. So you can see all of the actual motions in the sensors. Here's your yaw, the red. Okay. Your roll is the yellow. Or I'm sorry, pitch is yellow, roll is blue. So that's it. This is where you can look at this kind of stuff and make sure everything's working right. All right, tethered logging. This is for doing special stuff when you're doing black box kind of thing. Here's your black box stuff. I do not have a card in it because I don't use black box. Quite frankly, you rough tune it, get it to where it flies nice, go fly the dumb thing. And then if you need to do anything really special and fancy dancy handy, this is where you would do it. Okay? You would do it in the CLI. And honestly, there are guys out there that know this CLI better than, the programmers. And I'm not one of them. Just tell you that right up. There's very little I'll do. If I need to do something in CLI, I got to go to YouTube, go to Joshua Bardwell's channel, do other channels.
He's really good at explaining that.
And look it up and see exactly what I need to type in and how to type it in.
Mm-hmm.
So, but for the most part, I don't play here. Okay? Because I just don't need to. So, all in all, that's where we're at, guys. This is all done. It's all set up. And it's ready to go. She's all airworthy. Okay? So the only thing I got to do is I'm going to have to program the receiver separately. So I'll do that off camera and off stream because I got to go look the process up again because I don't do it very often. But I already have the software loaded in my radio. So all I have to do is there's a special connector you plug in here that you have to flip one set of wires because when you plug it on the back of your radio, it's wired differently than the way the receiver's wired. So you got to flip two of the wires around to do it right. Otherwise, you'll burn the receiver out. And that's it. And then you plug it in. You go into flash. There's a spot in here where you can flash the receiver firmware. And you flash that firmware on it. Once it does, then you exit out of it, plug everything back in again, and then bind. And then it will bind. So that's it.
So it should be able to bind to my D8 FR Sky radio, no problem.
Right. When I flash the software on here, it will bind to your radio with no problem. Okay?
Cool.
All right, guys. Let me put the top on, because we are good. Matter of fact, we're going to unplug from Betaflight real quick. I got to plug the battery in, kill the Wi-Fi. There we go. Wi-Fi is killed. All right. So the only other thing I got to put on is the little forever tubes for the antennas, which that I got in my flight bag. But for now, we'll get this plugged in. Matter of fact, let me kill this up here and go back to our regular stuff here. So, yay, there we all are. Okay. So, all in all the Betaflight stuff's done now. Okay. So now we can top the frame off because I don't need to actually get in here other than to unplug the receiver wires, and I can get to that by the sides, plug the other connector I have in it, plug it into my radio, and we're good to go. So now we'll just make sure the VTX wire is tucked down so it doesn't get pinched between the TPU and the top of the frame. Nothing else is sticking up. I'm going to pinch on anything. Make sure that the wires on the side over here aren't pinching on anything, but they're tucked in where it's a nice clean build. Put the top on. Get all the screws out. Two. All right. So at this point, this is where if you had, if I had the your GoPro mount, I would mount it on here. I have this one, but this one is actually made for the Martians. So you notice how much wider the Martian frame is. Okay. Yeah,
I'm having a Hero 8 mount made from David from Fly High.
Fly High FPV. Yep. David is Fly High FPV is the one that did the receiver VTX mount and the tailstock for this for me. So he is an absolute wizard at doing that. He has his machines dialed in like nothing you can believe.
Yeah.
And if you want something custom made and you draw it up, do him a favor, put good dimensions on it, make sure they all work. And if they do, he will love you for it because it saves him just a boatload of effort. Okay?
Yeah.
Trying to design the stuff. So
place it here has I'll tell you what, for flying like I do, Ken, if you're not going to be like this, full time, and you don't want to go like crazy expensive. I know they have a lot of good transmitters out there, but I absolutely love this jumper T-Light for radio style, for gamepad style.
Yep.
This thing, I absolutely love it, and it's cheap. So if something goes wrong with it, you buy another one. It's like, what did I pay for this? $80, I think.
I think they're about 80. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's OpenTX, and it has a module bay that you can add to the back of it. I love it. I absolutely love it. Hall style gimbals. You know, if you don't want to spend a ton of money on it, if you want to
That's
put
right.
money in, you can get the Tango 2, or
That's if you want a game style.
if you want game style. Yep, and that's what he wants. He wants game style.
Okay, if you want game style, there's only three decent ones to choose from. You've got the Tango 2, which is kind of, what are those, 200 and something, 200 bucks
Yeah.
for the good ones. Then you've got the one that Maddie has, and then if you're okay with not having a lot of good support for it, the Fly Sky Nirvana. That's the one that I'm going to be getting.
Yeah, that's
because
a cool looking radio.
I'm okay with the lack of support for it as far as software and all that, because it does work on OpenTX. OpenTX is open software. If you have friends that know how to work on that stuff, that can get in there and tinker with it if something's not quite right, you're good. For the most part, those radios work with the software that you can get on them now. And you pick one of them up, it's not like a toy game controller style radio. This thing feels like it's a brick in your hand. It's solid. I got to feel one, and touch it and flip the switches and everything while I was out in California the last time. I will be getting one of those. So.
And yes, Ken, you can fly both digital and analog. It all depends on your receiver on the quad. That's the only difference.
Well, are you talking video?
When it comes to digital, it all depends on your VTX. That's got nothing to do with your radio.
Correct.
Because he's talking about can he fly both digital and analog, and the question is yes.
Actually,
the radio. The radio.
Here's the thing. Let's say you wanted to run a digital camera in the front. You can do that. Let's say you wanted to run a cheater quad and run an analog camera off the back. You can do that. But you have to put the analog camera on a far enough channel away from the digital camera to make that work. Okay? Because they will interfere with each other if they're too close in frequency. But then you have the issue that your goggles are receiving digital. You flip to the back camera, you ain't going to see it. So only somebody with the analog receiver will see it.
Grumpy Vlogger's in here. Joe Blaylock just came in.
Hey!
Adrian Mateo Drones came in. And yes,
Hi, guys.
Lloyd, this is my drone. Yes, sir.
Yep. She is pretty well done, except for having to flash different firmware on the receiver because it came with this stinking access software. So I've got to do that separately because that'll take me a little bit to get all set up to do. But other than that, everything is in here. It is a SpeedyBee flight controller with a 30 amp 4-in-1 ESC, a Bifly loss finder unit in here. This is the RunCam Swift camera. It's got an RXSR receiver and an inexpensive 200 milliwatt VTX that is dip switch operated. Okay, and then
will that dip switch be set up for me before it gets here? Do I have to do anything with that?
I can set it for you. Yeah, it's not a problem.
I don't know how to. I don't know what to do with it.
I'll give you a chart on how to set it.
Okay.
So that won't be a problem. All right. So the last thing we got to figure out is this. So we got to decide how it's going to set in here. Like a lot of times I'll set a battery like so, where it goes like this. Have to turn like that, so that'll be good like that, or go off the back.
Yeah, I'll run it. However, I usually put a rubber band on there for my balance lead.
There you go. You can do this too.
Yeah, swing it in between the cables. Yep.
Tuck it in there and give it a little twist. That'll keep it tucked in there like so, and then that can go like this. It does not matter if the battery lead sticks up at all. Okay, if you're at all worried about it, you can turn the battery a different way, get it to tuck down a little flatter.
Yep.
That's all you got to do. One thing I do recommend: put 2 straps on it.
Okay? Yeah, I have. I bought. I got a 5-pack of the iFlights. So.
Okay. Now,
plus, I have the Race Day Quads ones too.
Last little thing we got to do. We're pretty well set with that. We have to do this.
Yeah, I have a battery pad for that frame. I don't know
You
what
do?
the hell I did with it, though.
Oh, don't worry about it.
I do not know.
We got Uma grip.
There you go.
All right. So now what we'll do is we'll put some Uma grip on this. Right. Now this is the thin stuff. The thicker stuff is actually better for this size quad, but the thin stuff works just as good as well. All right. Let me turn it this way. Okay. So for the most part, your GoPro is going to take up this much of the room here. So you only need a pad basically right in here.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing we need to do is make a cutout for one screw. All right, where cutters? All right, what we'll do is we'll get a dimension on this. Oh, there we go. See if I can write on this. All right, give me a second, guys. I got to hold this up close.
Hey, Doc, you know what?
Yeah.
If
What?
you can hold off from putting anything on the top plate,
Okay.
I know I have that battery pad here somewhere.
That's fine. All right,
And
I'll just cut it out for it.
Yeah, it's actually
Send it-
made for
send
that
it
frame.
with
It's
it.
got the Rotor Riot, it's got the Rotor Riot insignia in the actual battery pad and everything. I don't know where it's at, but I know it's here. I'll
Okay.
find it.
Whoops.
It's
Right,
somewhere.
Okay, that's where that one is. Well, I'll just cut this out to fit it, and then if you don't find it, just stick this one down.
Yeah,
for it.
yeah, I can do that.
There. Right at the S. All right. Check. Measure twice. Cut once. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, except we never do that. We always hack up the boards 2 or 3 times, right?
There you go.
There we go. Okay, so I got a good angle on that. All right, now we'll get this out. This has actually gone good for the build, guys. I'm really happy with how it's come out.
Oh yeah, me too.
Sometimes stuff can just go sideways because it wants to go sideways.
Yep.
And this one hasn't. So I've been really happy with that. All right. You all lined up real good. Hold it down tight. Okay. All right, let me move that out. Yeah. You get a different ruler. This one's a little flimsy. Got all kinds of rulers floating around here. Grandkids take a lot of them. They like doing their crafting.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I know how that works.
Yeah. Okay. This does not want to do that. All right. So we'll freehand it. Close enough.
John Coopy, I agree on that jumper T-Light. These switches are very, very close together. So
Yep.
if your switches are all, if your back switch is up and your front switch is down, I can't even fit my finger in between there. So I have to run my switches, the bottom 2 out, the top 2 in, and my arm switch goes up, but the other one stays up because if I don't, I cannot put my finger in between there.
Yeah. All right.
That's the only bad part about this radio is the switches are too close together.
So there's the Uma grip pad. So it is cut to the length and width now. And now
Cool.
all I'll do is I'll just notch it for the screw holes here. So just give it a little under. There. catch there. Nope. Make sure that one fits. We're good there. Okay, so now I do the other side. And like you said, Maddie, you know, I'll leave this off, so that way, if you do find the pad that comes to it, you can put it on if you like. If not, then just use this. Just peel the back off and stick her down.
I think I think Rotor. I think they actually sell that battery pad.
Oh yeah, you can get it from them. Absolutely.
It's a pretty badass looking pad. It's got the skull on it and everything like that. It looks really cool.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. But if you know, the one nice part about the Grip, this is a sticky pad, so it helps hold the battery on. The pad that typically comes with the frames aren't sticky; they're just a foam pad. Okay. So we need to notch that out just a little bit. Come on here. Spring-loaded pliers, man, they go flying. The little puppy dogs are going crazy over something. There we go. Okay. Yep, there we go. That'll work. All right, so there you go, guys. That's what I had to do for this one, for the Grip pad. You know, I just had to notch out for the 2 screw holes right here. The pad sticks up about level, maybe a little above these screws. The Grip pad is very sticky. It's not overly sticky, but it's sticky enough that
that works.
When you put a flat piece on it, it holds it really well.
Yep.
Okay. So the more surface area you have on it, the better it holds. So that's the catch to it. So with that, the frame's done. Guys, chat, any questions? I mean, have I covered everything? Is there something you want to know more about building the frame itself? Because there's other aspects to it, you know, like, you know, doing the antennas, that's a whole different thing by itself. You know, programming the receiver, that's kind of a whole different thing. I was hoping that wouldn't happen, but it did. So I've got to do that off stream, because that's going to take me a little bit to go get everything all set up and ready for it, which I didn't have ready. Yeah, any questions, guys? Anything?
Good for me. I thought it was great. Great job. You did a great job explaining everything.
That was my goal. I wanted to really cover each piece as best as I could, to where literally nobody would have a question of why I'm doing it, how it's done, or anything. So, thank you, Mikey. I appreciate that. So, what props are we going to use? Okay, that's a good one. Did I bring them in? Yes, I did. All right. These are the props that he is going to be using on this. It's the Dahl Cyclone 5046. You can use 51s, but you got to check and make sure that it's not going to hit on the 2 standoffs. That's the catch on those. That's why I typically go with the 5046 Cyclones. For me, they've worked the best. So I've tried some other ones. The HQs aren't bad. To me, the Dahls are a little better. Gem fans are like, they're kind of soft, and they flex a lot more. So
that they do. I just got some.
That's really kind of it.
The 7-inch.
All right, Corey Man, BL Heli, but got lucky with the motor direction. Yes, that is correct. Had any of the motor directions not spun correctly, we would have had to have gone into BL Heli. Matter of fact, I wonder. Let me bring it up and see, because I got BL Heli. I think I got it in here. Let me double check. Okay, I gotta minimize this for a sec. I think I got it up here. I know I got it in my downloads folder. I don't know if I installed it or not, because I do have it on my my MacBook for my laptop. That's usually where I do most of my programming. So, as I do it on my laptop. Because my laptop goes with me whenever I fly. Nope, I do not have it installed yet. Okay. So, let me fix that real quick. Yellow Heli. Configurator. See if she'll run. And there we go, it's running. Okay. Okay. What? Flashlight? Not my truck. Gonna wait, I'm almost done here. Okay, alright. Okay. Let me bring up BL Heli again here. Go back to my other page. So, Maddie, we're gonna lose you off screen.
That's okay. I'm gonna mute real quick. I gotta lay my daughter down.
Okay, not a problem. Oh, that's not the one I wanted. We want a page. There we go. Now we got it. Okay. Here's the BL Heli page. Let me get the cord here. All right. Take that off of there. All right. Let's see if we can get this to work. So. Plug in. Okay. Oh, got beta flight running. Got to shut beta flight now. Okay, close beta flight. All right, that disconnected from there. Now connect to BL Heli. And all right, make sure you've taken your props off. They're off. Connect power to the ESCs. All right, so we need to connect a battery to it. Okay, and there we go. Okay, so we now have a battery connected to it. Read setup. All right, and there we go. Can you guys all see that all okay? Oh. All right. So essentially, you can go in here and tweak all of this. You know, like beep strength. Okay, this is one that we actually do tweak. We run this up to basically about 200. Okay. Beacon delay. You don't want 10 minutes. You want 1 minute. This is for when you crash. Okay, and you've got the beacon set up to where if the battery comes unplugged or lose, you know, if it goes to failsafe or you have to turn the transmitter off while it's armed, this is the beacon sound that you're going to hear off the motors as long as the battery's plugged in. For the most part, you don't want to mess with the startup power, the temperature protection, the demag compensation, or the motor timing. There's no need to touch these unless you are having issues with a particular motor design. And what's his name? Oh my goodness, the dentist out in California. Drew a blank for a second. Bob Ruge. He was having issues with a particular motor design that he actually had a motor company make, and they were having to go in and go tweak on this to get it to work right. So that's something to bear in mind. For the most part, you will never have to touch any of these. All right. As far as motor direction, these are all set. Even though they all say normal, they are all spinning in the correct directions that I need them to spin. So we're good to go on that. One thing you can do with these if you want, where it says PPM min throttle, you can get those down to 1,000. For PPM max throttle, you can bump it up to 2,000. You can fuss with it if you want. I've got one here that's sitting at 2,000. For the most part, you're not going to be pushing these things to the limit the whole way. Hey, Chris. Hey, glad you're able to listen tonight. Yeah, we're almost done actually, Chris. Quads all assembled. But say one of the motors was running in backwards for what you needed. This is where you do it. You would come in here to motor direction and select reversed. This bidirectional and bidirectional reverse is only when you're doing 3D. In other words, if you're flying like Zoe FPV, this is where you would select that. Well, we ain't no Zoes. There's very few that are. Okay? So for the most part, this one is all set. So I don't have to do anything other than write the setup, because this is already, I adjusted this over here. So we come over here to say write setup. The only time you need to flash anything is if you change the actual ESC4 JH15, 16.5. That is the actual firmware on each individual ESC. That's when you'd want to flash. Now, for setting up anything else, you don't need to flash it. You just need to write the setup. So, and for this, we'll write the setup. Once it's done with all 4 ESCs, it's done. So now we're good to go. You disconnect, and there's your tones. And we're all good to go. So we'll go back over here now. All right. So that's it, guys. She's all done. I mean, except for the little issue with the receiver I got to deal with. But that's it. VTX antenna.
Is that the antenna it's going to be shipping with?
I'll probably make one for it, yeah.
Okay.
So, and then I just got to put some of the little forever tubes on here to hold the receiver antenna.
Yep.
And put the battery straps on it. You're good. It's all good to go, guys. So, anybody in the chat got any questions that you're unsure about, or that you're like, huh, I didn't think about that. Anything? I'm good to go. Oh yeah, Maddie's out here, playing with jets by him.
That was an airplane.
Yep, I could hear that.
Yeah.
Joe, yeah, I know. So we're all still learning, and it's just a matter of taking the time to go through all of this. So,
shoot, Chris.
Well, Chris, what question you got?
Yeah, I'm gonna have a lot of fun with this quad.
Oh, without a doubt, you are too, Maddie.
Yep.
So, well, thank you, Mike. I appreciate that.
It came out really good.
Yeah, it looks really
very
good.
happy.
I mean, when you look at it, this Stingy V2, this has been my basically my daily flyer for my 5-inch. This quad is now almost 2 years old, and I still fly it just like this, and I fly it hard. So, and
no,
you can tell.
Koopy, he's gonna put stirrers on them from coffee stirrers.
Yeah,
like
actually, I have some other stuff too to put on it. It's vacuum tubing that you can get from AutoZone.
Yeah.
It's that small black vacuum tubing. So, yeah, everybody needs some of my antennas, Mikey. Which is why I'm gonna do a stream here after we get back from Spin Up. I am going to do a stream on how to build these particular antennas, because these are the most common ones most everybody needs. They're not all that difficult, but they do take a little bit of playing with. So, let's see here. Okay, Chris's question. When I fly for more than 10 minutes, my fly time OSD flashes. Is that normal? Okay, is the OSD flight time flashing, is that in the DJI goggles, or is that in the analog goggles? That would be the next question. Because if it's in analog, open a shop. Yeah, I know, Joe. Everybody keeps telling me that. Man, you guys don't know how hard it is to make these things. Analog.
Oh, sure.
Okay. Most likely it is something in... Let me close BL Heli. Let me open up Betaflight again, and let me look in the OSD side here. Close. Connect. OSD. Okay.
I have my phone. Real quick, please.
Let's see.
I'm curious.
Okay, it's right here, Chris. If you look in your timers, right here. Oh, shoot, I got to get to the right screen. Hold on. Let me go back to it. Webcam, web page. Here we go. All right. It's right here, Chris. It's in this section right here under timers. If you look under timer number 1, this is your on time. Once you arm, this is how long the battery's been plugged into the quad. The precision is 1 second. Your alarm is at 10 minutes. You need to set that to a higher amount if the quad is capable of flying higher. Flying for a longer length of time. Yeah, and your battery voltage is fine until 15 minutes, yeah. So, but this here is where your actual flying time, your arm time, or not arm time, but when you plug your battery in, this timer starts. And when it hits 10 minutes, it starts giving you an alarm. Just change the amount of time. You can set this to, let's see, threshold is in minutes. When the time exceeds this value, the OSD element will blink. And that's what it's doing. Setting this to 0 disables the alarm. So if you don't want it on at all, just set it to 0. And you're good to go. So for the most part, I don't have a problem with this. The only time I've run up against this myself is when I was flying my America 10-inch, where it was capable of staying up for over 20 minutes. Then I would get that same flashing thing on it. So, not a problem, Chris. How we do it. This is what we're here for tonight. So, let's see here. Telling you that you need to think about returning. Oh, no. If I go into making stuff, guys, I will design the prototypes. I will design the base runs, but then I will have someone, someplace, somewhere, or I will hire people to do it for me, because physically, time-wise, I don't have the time for it. I just don't. I love doing the prototyping. I love all the experimenting. That's my thing. But to mass produce, that I need to have somebody do for me, once I get something going good. So, and yeah, Bob. Yep, this is a good stream. This is good for reference. Absolutely. You guys will be able to go back and look at all this stuff. If you got questions on it, just flip through the stream until you find the spot you like, that you needed to hear, and go from there. This is it in a nutshell, guys. So yeah. Hang on, I gotta get the Wi-Fi to turn off now.
It came out really good.
Yeah.
I like the way it looks. Cool. I'm excited as hell to fly it.
I gotta unplug. Gotta plug the battery back in. This is what you gotta do every time, okay?
Yeah.
Wait for the ESC tones.
That's to get the tones off.
And then unplug, yeah. Once you hear the motor tones, then unplug. And then it shuts it all down.
Nice.
So
I'm gonna have to. That's gonna take some getting used to, probably.
It just takes.
I'll figure it out.
Yeah, it just takes doing it a couple times. So, and that's it. So, yeah, learned a lot from Doc. Yep.
Nice.
Appreciate that, Mike. I'm trying to help as many as I can with this. This is, to me, this stuff is easy. Knowing how to do the mechanical side of it, putting it all together and making it all fit and making it all work. The side that I have a hard time with, and it just takes me a little more time, is the PID tuning side of it. And that's why I go fly with other guys that are better at it. And then we collaborate on it, figure out, okay, this works, that works, this doesn't work, that doesn't work. When I flew my Excalibur for the first time, it was completely bone stock down in Florida. When I got up to Virginia and got to fly with Aaron Ciotti, Aaron flew it. And I told him, this thing has got bone stock Betaflight on it. I haven't even tried tuning it yet. He goes, well, let me see what it does. He got up there and he made about 5 adjustments on it. And the thing flew like 20% better. It just flew tighter. It wasn't as loose. And it flew exactly where I pointed it. That was as good as I need it. I don't need to fuss with it any more than that. And he says, yeah, if you need it a little tighter, you can go a little more. Just go until the motors start getting warm, then back it down a little. And that's all you got to do. So, oh yeah, Chris, I get anxiety when I unplug the battery and try to quickly plug in a new battery before the Vifly starts screaming. Well, you don't have to go too fast. I mean, honestly. Watch. All right. All right, there we go. Okay, so she's now live, right? All right, I'm gonna unplug. All right, give me a second. I gotta get another battery. Wait a minute. Oh, there's that one. Nope, that one's dead. Hold on. Let me find. Where is that other battery at? Oh, wait a minute. There it is. Okay, hang on. Now I got it. Okay, and oh dang, it didn't go off. It gives you a good 30 seconds to a minute, Chris, before it goes stupid. So, and then starts beeping at you really loud. Yeah, it's like a ticking time bomb. It can be. I mean, if you really, if you really are stuck and go, oh crap, I left the batteries in the back of the car. Yeah. Well, then just all you have to do is when you plug the unplug the dead battery, go, okay, wait a minute, plug the dead battery back in. ESC noise, unplug it, the Wi-Fi is disabled. You're good to go. Go take as long as you need. So it's the strapping that takes time. Yeah. But if you need to, you just plug the dead battery back in, real quick, and wait for the motor ESC noise, and then unplug it, and then it's shut down, and then you can take however long you need.
Easy does it.
It's not a problem. Yep, easy peasy. So
yeah, maybe I'll start carrying an extra battery in my pocket just in case the battery dislodges and I can't find it.
Yeah. Yeah, good point. Because then if you can't find the battery and you don't have one with you, you have to stick your finger in to get to the button, which is,
I'll keep an extra battery in my pocket.
But you can get to it. I got the wires are sitting kind of on top of it, but you can get to it. Okay.
Yeah.
But the easiest way is just to plug in and unplug, a second time right here.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
cool.
Let's see here, John. Let's see. We know what to logically do, but yet we race against the clock. Yeah. Just don't cut the red wire, okay, guys?
Yeah, right.
At least not at the same time you're cutting the black wire, because that will make a big spark. Especially with these kind of batteries, man. These things will put some juice out.
Now, see, I carry a 3S 1300 milliamp LiPo in my pocket that runs my goggles.
Right.
So all I have to do is just unplug, plug it back in. Done.
Yeah, and you can kill it. Absolutely.
Yep.
Cool. That is a good point. Well, who do we got on still? Who's left?
There's a few people here. I don't know exactly how many.
Let's see. Let me close this out. Let me look up and see how much we got left. I mean, yeah, guys, and definitely go hit the like buttons. Let's see what do we got. Yeah, we got 15 people still watching. Great. I appreciate all you guys still being here because we are pretty well done with the build. Like I said, the only thing I got to do is I got to go and get the software, put in the transmitter, get the special cable out, plug it into the receiver, flash it with the FR Sky software. Then once I do that, then plug it back into the quad, plug it in and set it into bind mode, and then bind it, and then double check, make sure everything works. Yeah. And that's it. That's all I got to do, guys. So
I'm excited.
All right, with that, I think we're pretty well good.
Yeah, man.
As long as anybody else got anything. Good live stream, Doc. Thank you, Bob. Appreciate it. Yeah, this was it for all of this. So,
dinner time.
Dinner time. Yes, I am hungry. What time is it? 8 o'clock. Hey, we did really good. Here. We went 2 hours with this. That's perfect for this.
Yes, Joe. It'll guys, spin up with me.
Yeah, we are all going to spin up. Natty, because I'm going to have to program this. It's going to take me another day. If I do that, I'm not going to be able to get this shipped to you in time before you guys leave to head to spin up.
Okay.
So I'll bring this with me to spin up with me.
All right.
So that
no
way
problem.
I know it'll be 100% ready to go with no problems.
No problem. Okay. Oh, you'll see. You'll be able to see my first flight with it. Perfect.
Yes, absolutely. That'll be great. Everybody will get to see it. Yeah.
Now me and you need to have a conversation off on Messenger about this issue I'm having with this 7-inch whenever we can. So
whole pin.
We'll work it.
Release spoon.
Yep.
Throw. Just don't forget to throw. So,
yeah, exactly.
All right, good deal. Matt, Mikey, everybody, John, thank you guys all for being here tonight. Matter of fact, let me get this back to us. Just us. We're done. We've seen enough of the quad. We're gonna look at us. So,
I can look at it all day.
Yeah, we just need some more light on your face, Matt.
I know. I'm outside. I'm getting ready to go.
It's all right. So, guys, the next live stream I do, it'll be after spin up. For everybody that's going, we will meet you all there. We will see you all there. We are going to have an absolute blast there, guys. from what I understand from Kelly and looking online on his things for all of his tickets, this spin up is going to be more than twice as large as the last in-person one, which was 2 years ago.
Yep, that's what I
More
heard.
than twice as large. That's amazing. And it was pretty good size the last time. I mean, we had the hall where we were at more than 50% full the last time. And if we have more than twice, that's going to be a ton of people there, guys. And we're going to have a great time. For everybody that's not able to go, please, please, please watch it on the stream. Kelly is going to be streaming it live the whole time. And then when we go to do spin down on Sunday, when we all go out and go fly, there's going to be a number of us that are going to try and live stream that. So keep your eyes open for all the guys that are going to be doing that on Sunday. So I know I'm going to try and do it. I'm not going to do it from my iPhone because that stupid thing will always go black on me because it gets hot. So I'm going to try and do it with my Android phone. I replaced my other Android phone because it kept crashing. So I've got a Samsung S10 now, and I'm going to try and live stream from that and see what we can do with that. So,
Okie dokie.
Grumpy, man, I hope I can get up and see you. I've talked to the mama about it. We just got to work the schedule out because my daughter has to be back for her work for Tuesday. I'm not exactly sure what time yet. So, because I was contemplating making a drive up to go see you, Lloyd and Judy, on Monday, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to because of her schedule, because we got to be back to be able to watch the grandkids when she goes to work. So, we may have to make that on a separate trip. And if I do that, then we're coming to see you, Lloyd, and Mel at the same time, because you guys aren't that far apart. So
Cool beans.
And then who else is up there? Who we got left up there? We got Matt, got Joe, got Corey Man, John Cupie, Mike. Is it Pernick? Rennick?
Mike Rennick.
Rennick. Okay,
Yep.
so the H is silent. Rennick. Okay, Mike Rennick. Glad you guys are all here. Adrian, I know Adrian was in earlier.
Yeah.
He stopped in. Who else stopped in earlier? Kind of scroll back real quick. Looking. Casey. Third Eye View. Rob. Glad he was in. So let's see. Who else? Joe Blaylock. There must be a lot more people watching that haven't chatted.
Yeah, probably got some lurkers.
And that's cool too, guys. I appreciate you being here. I mean, even if you haven't commented, I really do.
Absolutely.
You know, I really appreciate you guys watching. Hit the thumbs up. We'll see you guys on the next one.
Good night, everybody.
Good one, guys. I'm going to hit the music.